Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is Carl's Roller Coaster Podcast. Hi, Peter. Welcome to the roller coaster, my friend. Great to see you.
Good to see you too, Carl. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for making the time, man. Really appreciate it. We just wrapped a super cool, incredible American tour. Hopefully, know what the name said, the farewell tour of the Porno for Pyros. Who knows? But yeah, and I'm fascinated by your history in music, your career, you know, from rock and writing music and recording for movies and working with, you know, people in the music industry and being so like a legend in this area. And I'd love to talk about, you know, things like that, but a bit more like lifestyle and starting from the very beginning, which is where I normally try to start at, which is a good way to start. Like, where were you born and how was your upbringing and family? Did they have any influence on your life, career, life choices? If you could just start from that would be fantastic. Thank you.
All right, cool, Carl. Well, I was born and raised in Santa Monica, California, and I was born in Santa Monica Hospital. My parents came from Sicily, so I was the first generation born in America, and they were born and raised in Sicily. And my father sang and played guitar, an incredible singer-songwriter, and he was a tailor for a living, him and my mother, and then he would throw parties and sing and play guitar, Sicilian songs. And I loved him. And then he actually composed some songs. He did a song for a movie called Raw Deal for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and our family still gets a royalty check for that.
Not bad.
And he lives on in his music. And then he was the guitar player and singer for a play, Tennessee Williams play in Beverly Hills called The Rose Tattoo. And then he was on the Lawrence Welk show. So he did it for fun, but he also made a living with it. And he was played in restaurants and really classy Italian restaurants. He sang and played guitar, brought home extra money for us. So I got into music through my father. And then my sisters were older, and then they played music too. And I learned from them. My sister Rosie taught me how to play guitar, and then and I got into the music, and so it was in my family. We had pianos and guitars, and then I discovered Elvis Presley and the Beatles, and then from there went to smoking weed and Hendrix and Led Zeppelin, and then it was Peter Frampton, Ted Nugent, all that stuff in between. And then I got into the 80s metal stuff with Randy Rhoads. Van Halen was huge on me. Van Halen's technique, and then the songs were so fun, with David Lee Roth, just how bad they were and just fun, and that's it. I just wanted to do. It wasn't like I really wanted. It was almost like a curse of the black pearl. I have no choice. I have to do this. Like an artist.
Mm-hmm.
I need to cut my and send it to a hooker. Like Van Gogh kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, because he did 2,300 works of art, which would be like 300 albums worth of output. And he only sold one painting to his brother, they say. It's like, so he had to do it, whether it was successful or not. I feel the same thing. Like, I have to do it, whether I make money or not, But fortunately, I've been able to make more money than Van Gogh did. But what I want is a legacy like Van Gogh. So,
So how old were you when you first picked up the guitar? And after your sister taught you how to play, did you go into any sort of formal schooling? Did you went and see other teachers, or did you just from that get-go just self-taught yourself?
Well, everything, all the above. So when I was a child, the guitar would be up against the couch, and I'd go over and pluck the string and here, and then do it in rhythm, then put my finger on a fret, and then change the pitch and then lift it off and then lift it on and just start with one string. And then the piano, I'd start the piano. And then, I would make pots and pans and pretend I was a drummer with pencils while listening to Aerosmith, and so I just was into music all the way around. And so that's how it started, But then at about 13 years old, I was like, okay, I want to be a guitar player. So I asked my sister to teach me some chords. And then, I took lessons with a guy named Tommy DiFranco. He was at our local music store called Ace Music down the street, about a mile. And he was a guitar teacher there. So I went in there and took guitar lessons, and he showed me scales and a couple of chords. And so I learned a lot from him. Then I had my friend James Baker, who is the guitar player now for War. We grew up together. He's only like 1 year older than me or whatever. I would go to his house all the time. He was more advanced in terms of jazz and knowledge, and he knew how to read and stuff. So I learned a lot from him. And we still talk every day. And then I went to college for singing and music, guitar, and not junior college, like Santa Monica College. And I went for like 1 year, and then I just but in the meantime, I was in a band called K38. It was a surf band. I wanted to do surf music and write surf songs. And we did that for like 8 years. And then I started playing with my brother. Then Perry discovered me and let me be in Porno for Pyros, and that was it.
That's really cool. That's very interesting. The family thing is so ingrained in you, right? I mean, you didn't face any type of challenges when, I presume you haven't faced any challenges when you decided to actually go into formal education and study music at university and college. Some parents...
It wasn't university, it wasn't college. It was, what's it called? Santa Monica College is junior college. It's like
it's junior college, right?
Yeah, you just go, anyone can get in and do it, and it's free, and you just, so it's not like a university. And I took classical guitar and singing, and only for like 6 months or whatever, and then I was out,
Were you attending gigs at the time and going to check bands and networking?
I was playing parties with K38, and we were doing backyard parties, the Troubadour, place called Madame Wong's, Hop Sings at my place. Most of these places that don't exist anymore, but the Troubadour does, and mainly backyard parties. We're kegger parties on the north side of Santa Monica, and we'd bring our PA system and set up and play songs, and it was great. I'm sorry about the dogs.
No worries.
Hold on. Okay, they're outside now. Sorry about that.
So good.
So yeah, I just did. I did that, and so it was that. But I did have resistance from. My father was concerned. He was like, get a job first, then music second. He didn't want to see me struggling, So I did do that. I've worked a lot of jobs in the car. Went into the car business because I like cars. So I actually sold Slash his first car.
No way. That's a cool story.
Corvette. Yeah, when he just made it. And I was working at this dealership called Grand Prix Motors in Culver City, and it's not there anymore, but we were selling cars. And so I went there, started with cleaning, tools, mopping, and then I was a runner, and then, started doing oil changes and stuff. And then I started to try to sell cars, then ended up being a wholesaler right up until Perry picked me, So I always made money while I was in a band and practicing and doing gigs.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember more or less where was your mind at the time when you were learning the guitar, you're practicing the guitar, you just did 6 months of, say, formal studying on the instrument, and you're playing backyards, you've got the PA, and then you have your dad sort of expressing what most parents tend to express, you know, because being a musician or working in the music business industry on itself, it's not for the faint-hearted. It is a real challenge to just make a living of it.
Yeah.
So it's fair for parents to, you know, express their concern for a certain extent. Do you remember how did you deal with those aspects in your life? Were you taking very lightly, or will you be very thoughtful about it? Would you be concerned about the future, or you just like had something in you that, you know, propelled you?
Immediately, well, what happened was when I cheated through high school, I cheated the whole way through school, and then when I go, Dad, I got my diploma, you know, and he goes, spell egg. And I went, E-A-G, like I didn't know how to spell egg. And then he was like, you're getting a job, you know, and it was like, you know. And so I learned how to read from the computer and everything. You know, like I caught up. I'm caught up now. But, you know, so I was a hustler. I didn't want to do music. I didn't want to do anything but music, you know, at 13. So from 13 on, I cheated through school and did a bunch, you know, just hustled my way to get through, to get a diploma. I didn't earn the high school diploma. But then I'm a good reader now and a good speller and all that stuff. It just took me I was a little behind, you know, and because I just wasn't interested. I was only interested in being a musician and writing songs and stuff. So with my father, I used to, like, when he would go to work, I'd ditch school and go and practice in my room. So I had to sneak the obsession. My mother was totally into it. She believed in it. She had faith and was totally in it and helped me to hide from my father. But only because he was right. He's like, you got to be able to make a living. It's better chance of striking lightning than getting in a band that makes it, you know. And so he was right. And so I learned my work ethic from him. Thank God, you know. So it's not everything is about the band. I turn over every stone that can financially be made in music, from producing to sessions to writing to sound effects to, you know, film scores to performance merchandise, just to everything that I can, any penny that can be made with music, I'm trying to get involved in.
And all of those things, did you learn while you were basically, because obviously Porno for Pyros, the first record being number 3 on the Billboard charts and all of that and going gold, it was at that point in your life possibly the highest point of your life at that moment, professionally speaking, right?
Yeah.
So
yes.
And then getting into obviously the machine and going from that to eventually not playing with Porno for Pyros, and then getting into you met like Harry what's his name, Harry Gregson Williams, right? And
yeah.
So many, yeah, you got involved in so many like famous music movie scores, film for movies, and thanks to him, and that's an area of music business that musicians most of the time they don't even contemplate, because there's so much involved, like you just mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, getting some royalties from something, I can't remember what it was, but those things that basically, you know, the passive income that people don't really understand, and early on in people's career, sometimes those things they just don't get observed. Were you aware of those things from the beginning, or is it something that you learned along the way?
Well, the thing that the most money that I make right now from royalties and up until this point was a thing called secondary markets fund, and that's musicians of scores of big films get 1% of the producer's fee to the orchestra or the featured musicians. And so because the movies were so massive and big, that's my biggest royalty. And then the band stuff is the second tier down. Porno for Pyros. So but in terms of from this moment forward, actually today, I got my first, because I've done film scores for movies, but it's beneath the radar. They're movies, they did good and stuff, but they're not, it's not like the Shrek films or Man on Fire or, Equalizer 2 or, big $300 million films, And so, but video game music, most of my stuff has been session. I was able to buy a house, put kids through college, cars and everything through being a session player for films, the big films, video games, TV shows. And I've composed, but for more independent films, and so my money was made up from the fees, and I do get royalties, secondary market fund royalties from those big films. But now I'm going to start co-composing with the biggest video game composer right now, and he agreed this morning, actually. We're going to go start co-writing together. So that's going to be a game changer for me, financially, in terms of the mailbox money. Mm-hmm. And so, it's all, I'm just like figuring it all out. But the biggest gig I ever did was the Video Game Awards, the 2018 Video Game Awards. We had over 26 million live stream viewers.
Wow. And
if you look it up on YouTube, it's, I can send you the links. I'll text them to you when we get off.
Please.
I'll put them in the thread of the Skype. But that was a huge gig, playing guitar with the orchestra and everything. And so, and that was the only time my kids acknowledged me and said, "Dad, I'm so proud of you," and stuff like that. Is because it's so far ahead that people like on TV, they go to American Idol, they see what's on TV, but TV is old hat to kids. They're on their Twitches, on their whatever they're called, their Game Boys, their consoles and everything. So they had 26 million live stream viewers on their games. They're watching on their consoles and on their, and on through their Minecraft or what. I don't know too much. My kids do it, but they were so proud of me, for that the whole Porno for Pyros logo was, it's like, gag me with a spoon, you geezer. I'm like a geezer. And so, but when I did the Video Game Awards, that was cool, because I played on stuff, but I'll send you those links. So I'm really I want to get into that, and I want to bring Porno for Pyros into that, and I think that's the future.
Do you, how do you perceive those personal relationships of yours with family, with your kids, in the sense of like, I'd imagine that you're very proud of your work on those movies, but I can imagine, just understanding from your background, from where you come from and playing in bands, for yourself, the main thing is, and please do correct me if I'm wrong, but like being in a band and performing and touring, that's what possibly gives you the sense of personal accomplishment. We all have that, something that you do in life that you feel like, oh, that's great, I've got that tour, I've got that gig, is it do you, and when you then basically have two questions in one, this is the first one, is it the band thing, the main thing that gives you that sense of accomplishment? And then two, that being the case, and then you have, say, your kids not appreciating per se so much the band thing, but then appreciating the gaming thing. How do you deal internally with those emotions?
Well, Porno for Pyros, I was playing parties and clubs, and I wasn't making a living with music because everything that we made went back into to practicing and getting better. So I didn't start making a living with music until Perry discovered me. And so I had a car, an apartment, I was able to pay my bills, but then I got involved in heroin. And heroin started to take away the fish tank, the bill, you know, like I started to lose things because of heroin. And then I met Perry. And then that sort of enabled my heroin addiction because it funded it, being in the band. And so the band was everything. It changed my life. Everybody changed the way they talked to me, the way they looked at me. Everything was like, we made it on the cover of Spin magazine. Pets went #1 for 5 weeks. Our album went to #3. Yeah, it changed my life completely. But I just, you know, bought a Maserati, got an apartment, had an open account with drug dealers, and you know, so I just went completely to the extreme, and it was incredible. It was my whole identity and everything until it crashed, and I had an out-of-body right life experience. I went through 8 drug rehabs. I had a really hard time, and then in that out-of-body right life experience, you know, I got sober, and it helped me to be humble and to be able to play guitar next to a Christmas tree for $50 or $100 at a party with people that we hired to do our music video for Pets. And I was so protected by a creative intelligence that my ego, it didn't see that they were going, oh my God, look what happened to him. He's playing, you know, he's back busking next to a Christmas tree. And for me, I was so grateful to be sober and to get the money. And so that was something from a creative intelligence. And so ego's the worst thing, and vanity, you know. And so I was protected by some higher power, some force that helped me to be humble and do sessions and be lowly. And so this last tour, I mean, you were with us, we were on it together. People were cheering. It was, you know, all the ticket sales were great. We thought it was going to be like 20% sold, and all of California sold out. And you know what I mean? It was like we had the worst draw was the 80%. And the 80%'s great sold, you know. And so it was a very successful tour. We didn't expect that. So that's dangerous because it's vanity, you know. And you come off and the cheering and the this and the tour, but you know. And you start to go, that's my sense of worth, my sense of who I am, and the stuff that comes and the people that come around, you know. And I have to stay connected that it's okay to bust. It's okay to get your guitar with a hat and go to Venice Beach and just play the blues and get, you know, $5, you know, like you can't let the vanity, you know, like I'm actually going to do a tour. I'm so proud of myself because Perry picked me, and I did 2 tours and an album with Peter Murphy, and he also sang on an album that I did called Randy. And so I was able to do 2 tours with him. Sold out tour bus. I played gigs with Scott Weiland. Crowd came in. Hybrid, I did gigs with them. They're great. Lance Armstrong was successful. Kamal, my leader in the DJ, he worked for C3. He was the head of artist relations. So we got invited to every festival for 10 years straight. And so that was successful and great and luxury. And so I've only done luxury. And then, you know, this tour you saw, we had 2 tour buses, an 18-wheeler, a 4 Seasons hotel. And so I haven't experienced, you know, touring like with and so I'm going to do it. I'm doing it with this guy, Mike Baguetta. He's an award-winning jazz guitar player. It's going to be just 2 of us on acoustics. We're renting a car starting from Chicago, and we're going to do nonstop, never a day off. We're going to do 2 legs of touring for, I'm going to do it like Mike Watt. Like Mike Watt goes, I want to get you a brand new Gatorade truck because you can pee in them while you're driving. And so I'm going to do the whole thing that Black Flag and the Minutemen, the punk rock, that's why Watt and I are very close. Like, he calls me every day, so, and he did it completely with, like, he's done 40 tours of 66 shows in 66 days. And the Black Flag days, they would do 100 shows in 100 days, never a day off. Because when you're not playing, you're paying, you know what I mean? Like, you're not, you know what I mean? So we're going to rent a little car. We're going to put our acoustics in, and I'm going to play every day. I'm going to do the whole United States every day. We're going to sleep at people's houses on their floors, and they're going to feed us. And we're going to only spend money on gas and the car rental fee.
Wow.
And we're going to eat for free off people, and we're going to sleep at their houses. And I'm going to do the Mike Watt thing, Jam Econo. And Mike Watt told me Mike Baguetta is the closest to doing it how he does, and he's a jazz guy. And we jammed, and he loves my ability to listen and use all the notes, and that's something you can't teach because it's breaking the rules. So it's about breaking the rules. You just break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to break the rules with a school jazz musician, award-winning jazz musician. It's going to be 2 guitars. I'm going to play a nylon string. He's going to play a steel string acoustic. And we're going to just do improvisation on the spot. And
how long this is going to go for? How many shows is going to go for?
We're going to do 2-3 week legs, I think. And every single day is a gig.
Awesome. And what's the plan in regards to sleeping on people's couches? It's going to be
we're
just like...
We're going to ask people everywhere, every place to host.
Right.
To host us.
Very cool.
I've never done it. I mean, and Watt always talked about. I know Dave Grohl went and tried to do it with Watt, and he had a hard time. I know Eddie Vedder tried to do it with Watt, and they had a hard time. They couldn't do it. So I want to see if I can do it. Like boot camp. I'm doing boot camp now. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I just something I wanted to experience because I've been like I did. I put work in, but it was like driving to the Troubadour, then passing out flyers for a whole month, then playing at the end of the month, and passing out flyers the whole month. So it was a different type of thing, but I've never done the 80 shows in 80 days thing. Not one day off.
That is insane.
You have to pee. You don't have time to stop. We got to get to the next gig. Here, pee in this jug. Like kind of worker.
Yeah.
And so so Mike Watt's been training me, and I'm going to do it with Baguetta. So I'm really looking forward to that. I got to do it at least once in my life.
How is it for you?
Because I might fall in love with it and just want to keep doing it for the rest of my life.
Yeah, but then how does it work with family back home? Being so long away from home, and I mean, like balancing that.
I've only did a 6-week. I did 2 6-week tours with Peter Murphy, and we get along better when I'm gone. And then this was like, it was great. They function here. Everybody functions, better without me. So I just got to come up with money to help keep this all going,
Yeah. Talking about money, back to the 90s, when you mentioned about your struggles, at that period that you buying fancy cars and things like that, did you went back busking, you mentioned it. Did you end up like, all the money that you've made on that period, you end up losing because of the lifestyle and the things that you're buying?
Oh, yeah. Like at the end of all of that, from 1992, well, I would say 91 is when we started talking about it. 92 is when we made the record. 93 is when it was released and we went on tour. So I would say from 91 to 97, at the end of 97, all the work, everything that we did, the hits, the Gold record, the tours and everything, I owed Warner Brothers maybe $300,000, and I owed Perry Farrell, I think $150,000. So I was in debt.
After all the success,
I had, 3 places at one time. I had a 3-story place in Venice. I had a 2-story place in the Pacific Palisades. And then we were living at Shangri-La, where Rick Rubin lives and owns. We were there for 2 years and 6 months. No one knows about that.
Wow.
That was our house. The band was paying for that. So my share, quarter of my money, was going into that house, which was at the time, I think, like $15,000 a month, which was really expensive then, or $13,000, I don't know. Mm. So that was just going out every month, for 2 years, 6 months. And then I had car services, and we took we played Woodstock. I think they gave us $300,000. I don't know what the math was, but we rented 2 helicopters, a private plane. You know what I mean? We always spent more than we made.
And
nothing's changed. With Porno for Pyros, it's
funny. Do you think that, emotionally speaking, navigating all of those moments and obviously dealing with even darker aspects of existence, which is addiction, you mentioned something about energy earlier on as well. Where did you normally bring inner strength? And in particular, if you go back all those years ago, all those decades ago, where did you find strength to keep going and keep the dream alive and keep working and being humble, like you said? And where did you find all this strength? Do you attribute that to family, to your home education, or was there anything in particular that made you the way you are, emotionally speaking, to be stable in a sense, to be able to navigate all that and come and see the other side, the other end of it?
I'm trying to think of a fancy word that's just at least hair original, but I can't. And so I'm just going to say the word that is so common. God. I wish I could say the esocentric force of some kind of crazy thing, but, I had an out-of-body white light experience, and God is helping me. I just surrender to God, and then God I just have to pedal and God steers. When I try to steer, I'm in an orgy with a needle and a spoon. When I'm let God and steer and I pedal, then I get dogs, cats, a family, health, to do these things. Not like I deserve the health or anything. I just have the health to be able to play the gigs and rip on the guitar and all that stuff, to do the work.
Are you religious in any way?
No.
No?
I mean, I was born and raised Catholic because of Italian, but I like Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Judaism, Islam. I've read a lot about on that. If I was going to be to any kind of a church thing, it would be Lake Shrine in Pacific Palisades, which has the 5 major religions in a room, and Paramahansa Yogananda tried to utilize all of that and with yoga and stuff. So there's a guy named Guru Singh who does Kundalini stuff that I'm interested in and stuff, but mainly I guess I'm not allowed to speak about it, but I'm part of a 12-step program. We'll just say that. So I find in their teachings a lot of good stuff, and I really love the teachings, the stories of, just one teaching of Jesus saying, treat others like you want to be treated. I don't want to be judged, so I'm not going to judge everyone. It's that simple for me. That's peace. As soon as I say, fuck Donald Trump, he's a liar, then I start to suffer, where if I just Let him be a liar. Let everybody go and just vote like I want to vote and accept whether he's going to be president or not. Then it's peaceful. And don't judge how he does his thing. You have a choice to vote, and that's it. And just accept what the outcome is, and to be at peace, because I don't want to be judged. So I got to stop judging others. That's what I believe for me, and I don't want to push anybody to do things like me, But I want peace,
Have you ever practiced meditation in any way?
No, not like how they say it how they say, you with the legs folded and you do this. I have talked to people who've put me into states and stuff like that. But to me, there's prayer, then there's meditation. Prayer is asking for stuff. And the only thing you can really ask for is knowledge of a creative God, but we're going to make it a little fancier because I like being fancy and original. Asking a creative intelligence for stuff. And the only thing you can really ask for is knowledge of your will and the power to carry that out. That's the only thing that works, Or you can pray for yourself if to do so will help another person. Like if you say, please let me have this so I can help these people, then maybe you'll get it. But if I sit here and go, please give me a Mercedes-Benz so I can look good in front of my clients when I show up, it doesn't work like that, And you have to work. So if I pray, I'm hungry, please bring me a hot dog. No, I gave you a refrigerator and you got to get up and make the hot dog. It's not going to float to me. So there's that kind. Then meditation is listening. It's just getting to a state where you can listen. And how I meditate is I'll just stare. And I've had old girlfriends freak out at me because I'll be staring right at another girl and I meditate. I'm just staring. Or my kids will go, Dad, stop staring at me. And I'm not staring at them. And that's how I meditate. And my mom used to call it component, which means compose. He's composing, and it's really meditating, not composing. And so what I'm doing is I'm spacing and trying to listen to my intuition of what to do next. And that's meditating to me. It's listening to God. And prayer is asking God. So listening and asking.
So do you do this? Do you practice somehow what you just described in a way that you ask the universe for guidance whenever you are in doubt or whenever you need to make a big decision? Do you have that type of practice that you just throw it to the universe and say, "Hey, give me a sign of where should I go or what should I do"?
Well, I do. A program. I also came up with a thing where I do unity meetings every day where at least 3 people, a lot of times it's 4 people, but at least 2 people a day, I call and we pray. We do the serenity prayer. So I pray every day. And I do the Lord's Prayer and serenity prayer and I recite stuff that I've taken from 12-step programs. And create my own little thing. And I'm a certified recovery coach also. And I went into that business for a minute, but then I got lost in vanity and stuff, and I got hurt in that. So now I just do it for free and for fun. And help people because it helps me. But yeah, I pray every day. Literally, prayers that were written and made that people pray in churches. With people, and we talk every day, and we admit we're sinners, and we pray, and we share about our sins or what's hurting us. So I do that every single day, and every day I space. So I'm meditating every day. I space, but I meditate with my eyes open.
Do you find it difficult still nowadays with all the knowledge and all the experience that you have going into, for example, the tour that you've just been involved with, and you've mentioned Vanity several times, and the exposure and the attraction and all of that crazy world that we experience when you're on the road playing big shows and all of that. Is it something that you deal nowadays with more normality, or do you have to police yourself and be constantly aware still that you could don't want to use the word sleep, but let that vanity perhaps come and crawl over your shoulder and whisper on your ears, per se?
Well, I have to say, my wife, Lorene, she is the most, she spanks me the most of getting to reality, and so I have to hand it all to her. And my kids, they're not fans. She didn't go to any of my shows. My kids didn't go. I said, I'll fly you, Nika. They just didn't go, And so they're not fans. And so, my wife will say things like, your whole family, they're fans. And I listen to what she said, and, I comprehend. And then I get lost, on the road, I met a girl and a wealthy girl in New York, and I was like, okay. And I got lost, and I was going to, change my whole life and everything. And then, I had to talk to my wife and my kids and everything. And reality hits, and I just don't want to hurt anybody. And I want to try to fly straight and be honest. But I'm riddled with the thing, as an artist, there's, for me, art, just visually, there's white, yellow, red, blue, and black. Those are the three primary colors and the two shades. And you use those to paint. And there's five senses. And as humans, we have five senses. And we use those to perceive and enjoy and stuff like that. And so life is five, and so black is like the thumb. It's thick and the strongest finger. And then blue is this finger, and black will make, the warlords pull the thing, and then the blue, the soldiers, go out and shoot, and so I have this whole thing. And then red is the color of blood. This finger is the longest finger, and it's the center of yellow and white. So balance is the best thing. And then yellow is the ring finger. Let's get married to the, and then white is a dove, like the most fragile, weak, humble thing. And a lot of people think God is the dove and devil is black. No, God is everything. God is the number 6, the sixth sense, the Holy Spirit that made all of this, and you need to be all of this. And life tells us, religion, you can't be this, and here's a tissue for this, and you know what I mean, and we want you to be this, and so people suffer, and so I try to be this in my music, in my life, and everything, because you need the black. If you're about to get eaten by an alligator, you need to go and hit it, and you know what I mean. You can't just go and get eaten, And so there's a reason we have all this stuff, and we can get out of control with the black and the blue, and we can get out of control with the white and be frail and taken advantage of, and people steal from you and use you and everything because you're an angel, And so I think I just want to be a balanced artist and human, and I don't want to get addicted to any colors, Addiction is the hardest thing, So I just want to be clean from attachment, so I can face my maker, God, creative intelligence, and go and leave here, and not be addicted, If I had $300 million in the bank, it'd be really hard to die, If I had, 57 great grandchildren, I'd be like freaking out when it's time to die, And so I just need to not be attached to anything. This is all temporary, and I just want to leave as much music as I can behind, and I want to have a comfortable financial situation for my family and friends so we can enjoy life. And I can help as much as I can financially.
That's beautifully put. That's I share a lot of everything that you have just said, and I loved you mentioning the five senses, because that's the only thing we have ever known. Every story ever told, every scientifically proven fact, everything, and every book ever written, they all came from the very same place that me and you and everyone else in this planet share. There was never any information or anything that came out of the five senses. And and I think it's a little bit we should be way more humble with the things that we take it for granted, in the sense of thinking that we know it all, that we rule, that we are. And I think there's something way higher out there. We just don't know what it is, because it's all energy, it's all frequency, and we're just somehow trying to navigate an existence of which we are not very sure of what it is, because everything has just been thrown at us. All the education, the society, the central banks, which are very recent, just a few decades ago. Before it was just trading gold and silver and land and this and that, and living in a time where we still so attached to our egos, right? Because we are trying to conquer more land, and via basically killing other people and invading countries, and it's just so archaic, it's just so outdated, but we're still doing that because we live in a world that was basically, we got here and everything was already like, it got to the point where it is, where we basically, we have to work and there's a reward for that, and that reward can give you things that you perceive with your eyes and you can touch, and it's shiny and it's this and that brings vanity, and that brings a lot of things that we don't have control over, or at least we're not taught how to have control over. We don't go to school and people tell you how to observe your mind and how to try and identify what's happening within yourself. Because what is the mind anyway, right?
Yeah, I just, I just had an epiphany while you were speaking, and I want to share about it. Now I understand, because of what you just shared, humanity, okay? In the Old Testament of the Bible, it says an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, okay? The New Testament, what Jesus was trying to say was, they slap you on one cheek, give them the other cheek. You know what I mean? They take your coke, to advance as humans, right? Well, when Israel was attacked, 1,200 people were taken. They killed over 30,000 people, and they're still going. I understand that, because here I am, okay? I'm a guitar player. Someone comes and chops my left hand off, okay? Am I going to be satisfied with, give me your left hand and chop it off? No, I'm going to fucking kill him, throw him in a meat grinder. You ruined my life. You know what I mean? Like, I understand humanity. It's hard to do the Old Testament, eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Someone I'm going to hit 5 times back. It's just human nature. So, the goal is to not do the first hit, to not do, you know what I mean? I can't, forget the world. I can't. Like if someone, okay, yeah, but if they chop off my hand, I love guitar. I want to play the guitar. I'm on a mission, I'm going to go nuts. I'm going to kill the person. I'm going to take their life, And so I just realized that as we're speaking, Now it all makes sense to me. We cannot change. Mankind will never change. So where we can do the difference is not do the first hit, not do the first hurt. To educate our kids to not do everything you can to make any kind of discomfort or death or maiming or hurt an accident. But when you intentionally do things, that's when war starts. So accidents, we can't control that, you know, but we can. It's easier to forgive an accident than an intention. And that we just have to learn how do we forgive accidents? They don't teach that in school, you know, let alone a person who comes in with a gun and kills a bunch of kids, you know. That's where we need to teach is don't start, don't hit, you know, maybe, I don't know what humanity needs for that, but that's, now I'm not even going to judge war because I would go to war if somebody attacks me or does something especially devastating to me that was so important to me, you know, like my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So that just teaches me I need to not be so attached to the guitar. I got to let go, you know, because I might have a stroke and then the hands don't work anywhere. And who do you blame on that? Oh, I'm going to go and bomb the butter factory for giving me cholesterol. And you know what I mean? Like, what can you know? It's like, so these are deep things, you know.
They really are. They really are. I finished watching a series on Netflix called Turning Point. They actually do one of 9/11. I haven't watched that one, but I watched the one that basically walks you through from the last 100+ years, from before the First World War and navigating through Second World War, the Cold War, and everything in between, all the way up to Ukraine, and the relations between the United States and Russia, and obviously the allies and all of that in the West, and the thing that changed everything in history, which was in Los Alamos, the discovery, the build of the atomic bomb, right, by Oppenheimer. Yeah. And that's when everything has changed, because I wasn't like not even from the slightest aware of what's going on, because we're constantly throughout our existence in constant war. It's just not exploding next to us. We're just not seeing it all the time on television or on newspapers, but there's constant wars happening on the planet, all for there's a lot of miscommunication and bad communication, and with nowadays obviously technology has evolved so much, so it's easy to understand what one country have and what the other doesn't. But back in the day, the investment in nuclear arsenal in America, just because they imagined that Russia would have the same, and eventually can't remember what it was, but there was a plane that would be able to fly over Russia. This is like the 60s. And be undetected and take pictures, aerial pictures from their nuclear arsenal. And they realized that they had, how many times more than actually Russia did. So all of those things literally just building and spending fortunes in things that are literally capable now, and they are at the ready everywhere. They are out on the coast of America in submarines, out on the coast of Russia as we speak right now. And they are capable of literally eliminating life on the planet. Because if somebody pushes the button in one side, you rest assured that the other one will push as well. There's no winner on the nuclear war. And that, watching that made me feel really like, it does bring you that, I try to remember it, like to try and everything that you said, be kind and be happy and enjoy every second of existence, because we take for granted sometimes, that our freedom, that you can just walk outside, you can go for a jog in the park. I live in an amazing area here in London. I can just go into a Royal Park for a jog and grab some ice cream or have a beer with a friend, whatever, living under those on this environment, and those can actually end at any minute, and we could face an Armageddon type of scenario where, literally now you're in a video game or movie scenario where the technology is gone. Everything that humanity has built and evolved, that could be gone. Because if you destroy the main intelligence spots of the planet, what me and you would do? I don't know how to put together a fucking iPhone. I don't understand how to.
Well,
Yeah.
the thing is that Elon Musk is he's the cutting edge of AI, but he's also he's more afraid of AI than nuclear bombs. What AI could do is there could be an evil person to program AI to figure out how to, with quantum computers, get into the submarine, make the submarine drive, and shoot the bombs off. AI can figure out how to, and no matter what we control, it can override. So, I'm like, bring it on. I'm done here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to go. If that makes sense, I'm just going to keep playing, trying to keep it. I'm just going to act like everything's beautiful. I'm what's called, I got married at Disneyland. I go to downtown Disney a lot. I hang out there. That is my religion, my church.
Anaheim.
Excuse me?
Disney Anaheim?
Disney Anaheim. That's because I'm in California. So I go and hang out at the Disneyland Hotel at the Grand Californian, at Pixar Palace, and I'll walk through downtown Disney, and it's just like New York, but it's rated G. Everybody's, you know what I mean? You don't see like addiction. It's fantasy, and it's called idealism. Walt Disney was an idealistic person. He was like, and we're going to build this, and we're going to build this. And he was dying of lung cancer. He had stage 4 lung cancer. And he was like, and then they finally brought him to the hospital, and he died like 10 days later. And so I'm living like, I believe in that living. Like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Oh, we're going to play, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. And then a nuclear bomb's coming in. We're going to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to act like this is forever. I'm starting over every day. I haven't made it yet. I'm going to go make it. Like, I'm not going to go, oh, fucking 1993, I played Woodstock and I had it. You know what I mean? Like, that's not where my head is constantly, like, I'm starting over every day. And that's called idealism. So people that have like Disney addiction and stuff like that, it's a constant fantasy of everything's ideal. And so I just live like that. That's why I did heroin. It was like, everything's perfect. It was an artificial way of doing it. Now I'm still doing heroin. But it's not with a chemical. There is addiction because I go way too much and sit around at downtown Disney, But because I just love the energy, the sound, and the feel of everybody partying and everybody on vacation,
Mm-hmm.
and idealism, and so, but I also, as a creative person, like Pirates of the Caribbean, I can see the black, and then Haunted Mansion has all the colors, the spirits and stuff like that, and the Small World is world peace. It's a small world, all the babies, everybody, world peace. So I get a lot of the stuff without having to do drugs and to go through heartbreak or whatever, I can get it now. I've lived it already. I don't want to suffer anymore, but I can still pull from things and understand that, wow, that pirate, chasing the woman and killing for gold. And you know what I mean? Like I know what that's, you know what I mean? I it's in me. I can do that. And so I get the black and everything. So I get a lot out of there. So I just, I guess if there was a church, it's Disneyland. That's my church. And my religion is idealism. I'm an idealistic person. No matter how negative things look, it's all beautiful.
What do you do to unwind, Peter? What do you like doing it? Like when you have time on your hands and you just want to have a nice evening and just chill out, what will be the setup for that?
I lay on my couch with my dogs and I put on YouTube and watch black hole documentaries, dark energy documentaries, dark matter, energy, quantum mechanics.
If you have any good ones, please do share it with me.
Oh my God, they're all good. Just any kind of thing that I haven't seen. Just learning about that because my 3 amps. You know, when I was explaining that my 3 amps on stage when we did the tour, one's called the Black Hole, the other one's called Dark Energy, and the other one's called Dark Matter. And I have this whole thing with settings. I also do it in investing. Like the universe is 5% observable. So all the atoms, everything that we see is only 5%. Then 20% is dark matter. Dark matter is a binding force that holds the galaxies together. And we don't see that, but we know it exists through gravitational lensing and from light warping around this stuff that we can't see and perceive. And then there's a 75% of the universe is expanding dark energy that's expanding faster than the speed of light and speeding up. And so that we know it exists from the red shift of galaxies that are red, and then the ones that are blue are coming towards us, and the ones that are going away are red. And so with the Hubble telescope, they discovered that it's speeding up, it's expanding the universe. And so that's everything. And so I use that in investing too, you know, like I had pies with the 3 things and stuff like that. And I use that with my life and art, and because it's the truth. And my mother died a few months ago, and I feel like she's with me, and I use science and speed of light. You can go around the Earth 7.5 times in 1 second. That's so fast in this atmosphere. But in space, it takes 1 billion light years to get. It's so slow, the speed of light out there. So there's a thing called string theory. If you can watch anything, there's this guy named Mio. He's a Japanese man. He's got blonde, long hair like Einstein, and his name's Mio. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but God, I feel bad. But he's incredible. He does a thing called the God equation, and he talks about string theory. So there's 11 dimensions of string theory. In our existence, there's 3. We know of 3, plus time, plus space-time, which is 4. And so I utilize all of this in my art, in my music, and in my religion. And my religion to me is just realizing where you originate from. It's just a short word to say realizing where you originated from. You know, it's a religion. So I'm into realizing where you originate from and trying to figure that out and where you're headed, you know. So I believe that my mother travels at the speed of light. She's with me instantly, and with my relatives in Palm Springs instantly, because it's so fast, the speed of light in our atmosphere. And so I believe that she's light. Yeah, the 5 senses are gone, but she's there with me in intuition. And I'm looking forward to being with her in intuition to the other side, you know. And I love my show. I feel like I'm handsome. I don't want to go anywhere. You know what I mean? I like getting better. I still want to tour. So I'm going to be idealistic until it's time to go. Oh, it's time to go, whether it's a car crash, whether it's a slow cancer, whether it's, you know what I mean, whether it's in between fast and slow and like in a couple of days, or, you know what I mean, whatever. I'm just, at this moment, I'm ready to go.
Wow. Nicely put.
I don't want to go, but I'm ready to go. I'm not done having fun here.
I loved it. I think I want to be mindful of your time, Peter, and I think remembering your mom now and sending her some positive vibes and some good energy. It's a good place for us to wrap up this conversation. I'm sure we could go on, and I'm sure we're going to do this sometime again, hopefully in person, you know, have some coffee and
hopefully we'll do a tour together and we'll travel the world together.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. I would love that.
We did
Like we just did. Yeah, crossing the whole of America.
Yeah.
Peter, thank you so much for sharing
Thank you,
all
Paul.
this with me and with the listeners of the roller coaster. I think it was so cool, the things that you said, and I think there's so much to be taken by people as an example of, you know, everything that you have lived and the way that you perceive life, the way that you see life. I really appreciate you sharing all of those personal insights of yours and personal things about your life. So thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Carl. I appreciate your time. Thank you for the opportunity to be on your show.
I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation, this podcast, as much as I did doing it. So if that's the case, please do follow on Instagram at rollercoastercarl, myself at Carl Casagrande, on Twitter, same thing, Facebook, same thing. Do subscribe. Do subscribe on iTunes, subscribe on Spotify. That's very, very much appreciated. Thank you and have a great, great day. Cheers. Bye-bye.